For this episode of Dashboard Tours, I wanted to show everybody the richest neighborhood in San Francisco. Now, the city gets a lot of bad press because of the huge gap between the homeless and the elite, and it's become one of the most unaffordable cities in the United States. The average home in San Francisco now costs 1.5 million smackers, and that was when I wrote this on November 4th, 2021 at 7:35 p.m. By the time you watch it, it might be close to $2 million for the average house. It's officially the most expensive city in the nation, and it's not even close. There's no way most of the young tech people who move to the Bay Area can afford to buy a home here, and they never will at this point. Most have to rent a crummy apartment across the bay over in Oakland or cram into a small bedroom in a bad part of town over here. And up here where we're heading, this is elite status, fella. The area we're going to now is called Pacific Heights. Here's a map of where this neighborhood is. It's on the northern end of the peninsula. The area is roughly defined by Union and Jackson Streets and Lyon and Buchanan.
San Francisco sucks. Some lady called me a Mexican once.
She did not, Karen. That's just more of your BS. Sorry, everyone. The first street we're going to take is called Broadway. This is Billionaires Row. The man who created PayPal, the guy who founded Oracle, the founder of Yelp, key Apple execs, famous novelists like Danielle Steele, and other super rich people live here in an area with amazing views of the Bay. But this area is only 10 minutes away from the Tenderloin, which looks like this. The Tenderloin might be the most poverty-stricken and sad place in the state of California, where many of the city's homeless drug addicts live on the streets. But we're not going to be down there today. We're going to look at the rich stuff, right? All right, so right now, joining me on a call right now is a San Francisco native and local realtor. Her name is Sharon. Hey, Sharon, how's it going?
Hey, it's going great. Thanks, Nick.
So I drove all the way through pretty much the richest neighborhood you could drive through in San Francisco. It's up Presidio. It's in Pacific Heights neighborhood. I'm sure you know about this neighborhood, right?
Yes.
So, give people kind of an idea. I mean, part of the street is called Billionaires Row. This is where pretty much the richest of the richest people in San Francisco live, and they have to be really, really rich if they're going to be the richest because there's a lot of money in San Francisco.
Yes.
Can you give people an idea on number one, why is this area so dang expensive?
Well, so everyone knows about the history of San Francisco and the 1906 earthquake. And if you ever look at a picture of San Francisco, it's a peninsula. And along the edges of the city, some of that is landfill. So when that earthquake hit really hard, I mean, there's a lot of damage. And as they looked up and were assessing the damage, there were people there who decided, those wealthier people, to build further up the hill. I mean, they had a number of reasons for doing that, but in part, you're talking about bedrock up there versus landfill. So it's a lot more stable. Plus, it is famed for having some of the best views in the city because depending on what direction your windows face, you can have a 360 view if you're up high enough from the Golden Gate Bridge all the way over to the Bay Bridge. And so the views are really what bring the money up in that area. Plus, it's a very prestigious area. So people want to be able to say they live in Pacific Heights. And you're talking about, like right now, as I was looking at what's for sale on the market, the least expensive, believe it or not, is only $749,000, but that's for a 570 square foot studio. And then the highest right now that's on the market is 45 million. And that's for a penthouse that actually has sweeping panoramic views. And so again, it's not even a single family home. It's a penthouse on the top of a building right there in Pacific Heights. And they have views of the Golden Gate Bridge, and it sweeps all the way around to the Bay Bridge. And of course, they're in pristine condition with some of the best and highest amenities you can imagine. I think the HOA fees on that penthouse are just under $9,000 a month. So yeah, you got to have a little bit of money if you want to buy that one. But the median, Realtor.com says the median home price there in Pacific Heights is about 1.5 million. But as I look at what's available on the market there, the average middle price is somewhere in the $6 million range, and it gets up into the 8 figures. So easily 25 million, 18 million. You'll see a lot of homes, but you can get to all the main areas of the city from there too. It's very walkable. You got the Presidio just there if you want to have some outdoor space to enjoy. So yeah, it's not a bad address to have if you live in the city.
Yeah, 1.5 million. That's like the average home price. Yeah, San Francisco literally is clearly the most expensive place to live in the country. But I just read that the average home price in San Francisco is like 1.5 million. I don't know if that's just posturing or what.
That's pretty accurate. In fact, the home I grew up in, my parents bought in 1968 for $30,000, and it. At the time when I was growing up, it was 2-bedroom. My mom updated it to a 3-bedroom when she sold it, and it's now probably worth right in that $1.5 million mark. But it's far on the other end of the city, closer to Lake Merced. But we had views of the ocean. We had views of Lake Merced, so we still had some nice views, but not quite like what Pacific Heights has.
Why is San Francisco so dang expensive? I mean, there's probably an hour-long answer to that, but it's a beautiful city in many spots, and I know it's a tech hub, and it's very diverse, but so are a lot of other cities too.
Yeah, well, let me. First off, of course, San Francisco is a world-class city, so it's often mentioned, and it's a tourist travel spot along the lines of Paris and London and New York. It's here on the West Coast. But think about it. It's a small piece of land. It's only 7 by 7 miles. So they say it's 47 square miles, although, you multiply 7 times 7, that gives you 49, but go figure. Anyway, if you were to look at the map on satellite, you'll notice that it's very densely populated. There's not much in terms of developable land in San Francisco. So anything they're building now, they're building vertically in order to accommodate more housing. So housing stock there is pretty tight. So there's just not enough housing to meet the demand, and they can't really build more housing there. So people who really want to live in the city and be able to say they've got a 415 area code and a San Francisco zip code, they're going to pay a premium for it.
Yeah, premium is right. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
So this area in Pacific Heights is pretty much, it's in a nice neighborhood. It's got the views. It's at the top of the hill. And when I say hill, I mean, I was driving a really crappy rental car, and there were some hills that like my car, like the pedal hit the floor and like it like delayed for a second. And I was like, am I about to go backwards? I mean, some of the steepest hills I've ever driven on, I can't imagine driving a stick shift or even trying to ride a bicycle around that neighborhood. But I guess it's just that the view is probably the biggest selling point, and that's probably why it's so expensive right there, right?
Yeah, the views, you're right there near the Golden Gate Bridge. You've got the Marina Green just down the road. If you have a boat, you can get access to your boat. Presidio is there if you want to get into some outdoor area that's woodsy. It literally just blocks away. And then you can easily get to the financial district. You can get to Fisherman's Wharf. You can get to a lot of the main areas of the city fairly quickly from that location. But it gives you almost a suburban feel within the city. And then plus the homes there, many of those homes are historic. They're, revived Victorians and Edwardians. And I mean, the architecture is just amazing there. So there's so many things that make that a desirable area, but it's just one part of the city. There's a lot of beautiful parts of the city. Pacific Heights, though, you got to have a lot of cash if you want to call that home.
Yes, average $6 million. So let's say I could afford a down payment of 20% of 6 million would be 1.5 million. Am I doing the math right? 1.25 if I was going to put 20% down.
So I'm looking at a home here that's 6.9 million in Pacific Heights, and they're giving an estimated monthly payment of $32,000 a month. Now I'd have to go, and that's 20% down payment, 30-year fixed at 3.1%. So you're talking about a $1.3 million down payment. They're estimating $32,000 a month, $32,668 to be exact.
Dang.
So you can have a really good job.
Dang, we just got a free lesson on real estate from Sharon. Thank you for that.
Sure.
So, like, are the prices, everyone keeps talking about a correction in the market. We're not going to see what we saw in 2008 and 9 because that was a different story. Everybody
Right.
agrees on that.
Right.
Are we looking at like $2 million homes in San Francisco in 5 years? I mean, is there an end to this madness? I mean, where's the top of the pyramid here?
Well, let's put this in context. So we're talking about Pacific Heights specifically here. So this is the most expensive neighborhood in San Francisco. There are plenty of other areas of San Francisco where you can find homes in that $2 million mark. The correction, and I think this is kind of a thought that people have too. They think that home values are going down. They're not necessarily going down. It's just the appreciation of the home values is slowing down. So there's always cycles in real estate. And so there are going to be times of the year where home values are going to be higher and then they may dip down. But then when you take a look year over year, over a certain number of years, home values are still much higher than they were just a couple of years ago. So I don't know right now, there's so much uncertainty and consumer confidence isn't very high. So we just kind of have to wait and see what's going to happen in the market over the coming year, because there's just so many things people are concerned about with, inflation and the potential for hyperinflation and all those other factors. And then interest rates are projected to edge up in the second quarter of next year too. So that's going to also have an impact on people's ability to purchase, how much they can actually purchase.
I love the views, Sharon. Is there anything in this area that's in my price range?
I don't know, Mappy. How much do you make?
About $26,000.
Ooh, yeah, I think you need to talk to Nick and renegotiate your income. He's not really paying you enough, at least not to live in San Francisco.
Whoa. Thanks, Mappy. Bye, Mappy. Sorry about that, Sharon. Well, that's San Francisco, a place where the elite rule the day, and a city that's totally out of reach for just about everyone. Hey guys, if you learned something new about America or what it's like to live in America, great! You should think about subscribing and turning on your notifications. You can also click one of these videos or playlists for more. You can also now buy my songs on iTunes and other formats. Click the link in the description. Thanks for watching. And remember, while we all might have different views, we should all be nice to each other and try to make the U.S. a better place in a positive way.
This is Sage, Nick's manager. This has been a Corner House Entertainment production.
And are you looking to move and need advice? I do consulting. That's right. I'll sit down and talk about where the next perfect place for you and your family should be. I do it all the time. Together, let's find you a new home that's safe and checks all your boxes. You can get my email in the description to find out how I can help you find your perfect relocation.